It's Oscar week in Hollywood, and after 3 months of the writers' strike, there's something to celebrate. Tinseltown has seen trouble before. Back in 1927-28, the movies had become the fourth largest industry in America. There were already rumblings about its often titillating product from concerned mothers and clergymen. The industry needed a touch of class and a public relations coup. The idea of awarding a golden statuette to the best of the best was just the ticket. MGM chief Louis B. Mayer was the brainchild behind the banquet and awards. According to this unofficial history, my guest is a man who's participated in not half of this, but 50 years himself as producer, director, writer, actor, and member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Ken Wales, thank you for being with us for an extra special week leading up to what I hear is going to be celebrity wattage for Sunday. That was one of the concerns. If this went ahead, would they be able to get the people? But I think they have a star-studded lineup for
They do. They've saved the industry. We're going to have a wonderful award cast coming up this Sunday. The stars will be out in great force celebrating the end of the strike and onward to better motion pictures, hopefully.
This has been a really devastating 100 days.
It has. We, of course, celebrate the American tradition of bargaining for labor contracts. But this one went really too far, and I don't think it'll ever happen again because it took the backroom negotiations, and I like to think a lot of prayer from a lot of concerned people who knew that people were losing their homes and had gone far enough. So we hope this will not happen with the actors coming up. The writers are happy now. The directors led the way. And as a matter of fact, Michael Apted, president of the Directors Guild, who directed Amazing Grace, was the leader in the resolution of the whole thing.
Really?
Yes.
Explain to us in simple terms, what's the biggest beef?
Well, the biggest beef was, is there going to be a revenue that the writers will share in for the new media, especially on the internet, as films are delivered into all of our homes over the internet. You press one button and up on the screen via your computer connection comes all of the films you'd ever want to see. They want to be sure that they're part of all of that new media. Is recognized financially, too. Yes, and it's true. It's honorable.
We have a lot of show and tell here. I'm so glad that you brought a picture of a man that, well, he was your mentor in acting.
He was my mentor.
Glenn Ford. Can
Indeed.
You see him on the front here?
This is from the film Experiment in Terror, which I played Glenn's sidekick, the young FBI agent. But prior to this, when I was a high school senior at Santa Monica High School, I received the Glenn Ford Award for Young Actors. And Glenn mentored me. I lived in his home for 4 months between high school and going to college. He saw I had acting training, later a screen test at MGM, and was signed there for several years while I was at USC. And I was in about 35 motion pictures, and even my first role was basically in Rebel Without a Cause.
You were in that movie?
I got to take James Dean, throw him down on the school seal at Santa Monica High School, rub his tail end, initiate him, and then he used my locker in the film. So I knew I was hooked on motion pictures. Okay, we have to watch that again. You know, I found it interesting that James Dean's very first role was as the Apostle John. That's true. Wow. Think what God started in all of that. And Paul Newman, the Silver Chalice, another biblical role. Absolutely. You have to hope, even watching the trailer that we just saw for the Easter story, you have to hope that reading some of these lines, speaking scripture, playing the roles, is influencing many. Well, the Bible has furnished the greatest stories that have come on to a film. And constantly Hollywood, Cecil B. DeMille and others have reached out to tell stories of biblical nature as well as the great stories from the Bible. It's all there. The greatest story that will ever be told. Yeah, and then you mentioned Cecil B. DeMille. The 1950s was the golden era for the big biblical epics. Before that, when he made King of Kings, I think in the 20s, something like 1927, he had a private detective. You know this story, don't you? Yes, I do. Shadow the man playing Jesus to make sure that his personal life was staying morally right. That was a time when Hollywood was in a different place, and many people don't realize Cecil B. DeMille's father was a minister, just like my dad. Let's find out more about you. Speaking of Glenn Ford, he was one of the people that
provided the card credibility. Look at this. Actually, we've got all three of your cards for you to see. Wow,
oh my goodness.
Very
well,
impressive.
First of all, the Screen Actors Guild card. I became a member of the Screen Actors Guild when I was about 18, and Glenn Ford mentored me through that. Imitation General was the first big film that way. And then, of course, the middle card is from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and I was nominated by Glenn and Ernest Borgnine, who had just won an Academy Award for Marty that year, and they felt I was an up-and-coming actor, and so I was nominated and received into membership of the Academy. Started voting when I was 19. I was one of the youngest.
Now, have you voted every year, Ken?
Pretty much so. There was one year I didn't vote, and I was in England working on a film. I didn't get my ballot in time, and it was the year that Barbara Streisand tied with Katharine Hepburn for Best Actress. And if I could have just voted, I could have broken that tie. Guess who would I have voted for? Katharine Hepburn.
I want to talk about this year's films a little bit, but just indulge me a moment. Sure. I got, last time you were here, thrilled just in plugging you into things that are part of our journey, the media of our life. Father Knows Best. Even if people haven't seen it, they know about it with Robert Young.
Father Knows Best really changed the landscape of American homes and television. People tuned in to see what that family was doing with Jane Wyatt and Robert Young.
The ideal family.
Well, I was Betty's boyfriend, Eleanor Donahue, and I gave her her first kiss on screen. And I want to tell you, Mara, it was so delicious, I didn't wash my face for a week.
I couldn't believe Hazel. Okay, how many people remember Hazel with the little hat, the housekeeper?
Don DeFore, the husband of the family, a strong Christian, wonderful fellow. His daughter Penny went to a mission in Korea. Incredible, now that I look back upon it, Christians involved all the way that just weren't, you might say, wearing it on their sleeve. They were being Christian in the way they conducted themselves and the way they portrayed the parts. Just excellence.
Let's talk about Oscar for a minute. We have a very reduced version of him here on the table. He's an octogenarian this year.
He is. In
He's
fact,
gonna be 80.
Oscar is an extraordinary fellow because he literally was designed at the request of Margaret Herrick. She was the director of the Motion Picture Academy, and she thought we needed something to have that would be representative. And so she asked Cedric Gibbons, who was art director, head of the department at MGM for many, many years, a talented fellow, to design the statue. He did. And when he finished it, he brought it in for Maggie to look at, and she stood there and gazed, and she said, "It looks just like my Uncle Oscar."
Oh.
And that's how Oscar got his name.
Oh my. Now he's not, he looks solid gold when we see him awarded. I have it on good authority. He is he's cast in titanium.
Right.
Nickel plated, then dipped in sterling silver and plated with 24-karat gold.
That's right. And Oscars are precious. The Academy does not look favorably on people who auction them off sooner or later. The Academy wants to have them back, and we're encouraged never, never to let that happen.
Now, they have a lifetime guarantee, so if they're damaged or lost, they're replaced.
And plated, replated.
Wow. And it takes, where did I put that? It takes one person, no, it takes 12 people, 20 hours to make one Oscar. That is something.
It's true. But the main thing, of course, is what it symbolizes. It symbolizes the very best. Excellent in different crafts, cinematography, writing, directing, art direction, animation, all of the different areas. And it is a joy. Someday maybe one of those will rest in my mantle. I was honored with a Golden Globe when we did East of Eden, the miniseries.
Which also had an Emmy nomination.
Yes, it did. We lost to Shogun. We had 8 hours, they had 15. But we think we had a pretty good show.
Oh, last comment, 13.5 inches tall, 8.5 pounds for the Genuine article. And I'm just sorry that our Amazing Grace will not grace the menu this year.
That's true. It takes a strong campaign and an expensive campaign to be considered for the Oscars. And after thinking all about it, it was decided by Walden Media, the company, to really put the effort into releasing the DVD rather than just mounting a campaign. But nevertheless, when all of you and all of our friends see Amazing Grace, you will realize this is an Academy Award-winning caliber film. Albert Finney portraying John Newton, who wrote Amazing Grace, and of course Ewan Griffith, who was Horatio Hornblower as William Wilberforce. The quality is excellent. So many people who've seen it ask me in the industry, what did it take to make it? It must be over $100 million. And proudly I say, no, it was under 30, under budget, about 29. And it looks like an extraordinary film that took years in the making. It is superb.
I hope nobody missed it, but just in case, and just for those who could watch it over and over, like myself, let's watch a trailer that will give you a little overview of the story of William Wilberforce.